Hey, I'm Josh. We're here at Rising Fawn Gardens, and we're continuing with our virtual wildflower tour for folks who may be inside right now a bit more than they're used to. And the flower we wanted to talk about today is black cohosh. Black cohosh is a well-known wildflower that's found in the southeast. Its range is Ontario, south to middle Georgia, west to Arkansas. You find it in rich, moist woodlands. The plant has a long history. It was used as a medicinal herb by Native Americans dating back to prehistory. When Europeans arrived in the New World and encountered Native Americans, they learned about black cohosh. And it was a formal part of the Western pharmacopoeia all the way up until the 19th century, where it was known as black snake root in many documents. It's still a medicinal plant, and its uses typically are for hormonal regulation of some kind. There have been studies that's demonstrated its efficacy and those that haven't, and so the waters are a little bit mixed on the properties of black cohosh. But we do know that it contains compounds that are very similar to estrogen, and that the possibility exists for it to be proven in its efficacy in the future. The flower is fairly easy to spot. I'm 6 feet tall, and this flower is taller than me. In many cases, they can reach 8 feet or more in height. The Latin name is Actaea racemosa, and the racemosa comes from this long cluster of flowers that forms at the top, known as a raceme. The unopened flowers make these round balls which stick off of the stem in a single pedicel. Then they open up. The flowers do not have petals. They have sepals and anthers and a carpel, which will later turn into a seed, but they don't have petals as we might understand them to grow on a rose. On camera, it might look like this is a single white flower, but in reality, there are hundreds of individual flowers that are growing here. Black cohosh is often found in a stand. So rather than having 1 or 2 plants, you might have 50 or 100 black cohosh that grow in a single area. If you were wild harvesting black cohosh for its medicinal properties, you always want to look for one of these healthy stands to gather from. You don't want to find it individually or alone in an area where there aren't many plants. We want those colonies to expand, so you want to harvest from these healthy stands. Black cohosh can easily be identified by its flowers, but there are some characteristics of it that you can identify it easily enough when it's not in flower. So one, it puts up a tall, straight stem in the middle as it approaches flowering, but after the flower is off or has dried and died back somewhat, the tall single stem will remain. Lower on the plant, black cohosh has a stem that comes up from a root node that's under the ground, and when it reaches 12 to 20 inches, 12 to 14 inches, somewhere in that area, it splits off in 3 different directions. When it does that, it makes a sort of nodule here made of 3 different parts. So each time black cohosh splits off, it tends to do it in a group of 3. So we have 3 splits from this center nodule, which is also purple in color. One of the splits, one of the branches arrives up. We have another nodule that's purple in color, and it splits 3 ways again. Out towards the end, we can see that the leaves are irregularly toothed, and there are several leaflets that emerge off of each stem. Once again, it splits in 3 directions. So the color of black cohosh is a rich green. The plants first emerge in the really early spring. They arrive right alongside our spring ephemerals before the trees have leaves on them. And they're this rich bluish green as they emerge. They won't be in flower at that time. Black cohosh doesn't flower alongside the spring ephemerals. It flowers much later, at the very end of spring or at the very beginning of summer. And the stand that we're in right now actually flowered on the longest day of the year. These flowers came out on the summer solstice. So we're in the traditional beginning of summer now, and here they are in full flower. So they emerge with the spring ephemerals, but they actually flower now. All right, thanks for joining me for too much information on black cohosh.